Welcome to Tino's Time. And on this episode, we're going to go over the MLB COVID 19 safety protocols for the regular season in 2021. And then I'm going to let you know all the rules that have changed from last season to this year. They did say that the season will look a lot like last year, except that the plan is for a full 162 game schedule. But first, before we talk about the rules, let's go into the safety protocols for the 2021 regular season. Face covering must be worn at all time. Every player and coach and staff of every single MLB team has been given a contact tracing device, and that must be worn at all times. If you test positive, there is a 10-day isolation period where you have to isolate from everybody for 10 days. Player and staff who come in close contact with anybody must quarantine for 7 days and present a negative test on day 5 prior to returning. Prohibiting outside gatherings of 10 or more. You guys are not allowed to go out any to bars. Nobody of 10 or more. You are not allowed to do that anymore. Mandatory 5-day quarantine prior for players to report to spring training. Hopefully all the players that are at spring training have already done that. All MLB clubs will have to have the following: a face mask enforcer officer, a contact tracing officer, and a compliance officer. Fines will be issued for non-complainants during games, and they will be donated to charity. I think that is an amazing idea. Hopefully, guys don't just start getting fined just to be given to charity. And those are the MLB COVID 19 safety protocols for the 2021 regular season. Remember, mask up. And now it's time to talk about the rules for 2021. In many ways, like I said earlier, the 2021 season will look a lot like 2020, except that the plan is for a full 162 games. As has been reported throughout the weeks, the MLB owner's side has offered up the universal DH and designated hitter, but as part of the negotiation and the expanded playoffs were included in that agreement, but the MLBPA has rejected this offer, meaning the playoff format will go back to 5 teams per league, 3 division winners, 2 wildcard teams, which play 1 game with the winner moving on, which means there won't be a best 2 out of 3, and that means there won't be a universal DH. So that means the AL will still have the DH, but when the AL plays in the NL, that means the pitcher is going to have to get hit, and that is very disappointing. It is very possible, though, that things could change before the regular season starts, with the 2 sides agreeing to a DH and expected playoff field, but for now, an agreement has been made for spring training, and I don't see that changing. And they've already announced that they're not going to bring back the DH and expanded playoffs for 2021, but hopefully in the future we see that, because in 2020 I love that format, and hopefully they bring it back in the future. Now for the on-field adjustments that will be noticed as a different from pre-2020 will be that the double headers will now be 2 7-inning games. And last year we saw this, and I honestly really like this. I thought having 7 innings for double headers were really good. Yes, that we want to see 9 innings, but sometimes that could be too much, and honestly 18 innings of baseball in one day is a lot. You take away 4 innings, and those 7 innings, you got to score right away. You got to get going, and there were many times last year that teams won both games, and that's something that usually never happened. I really like that rule. Also, returning the runner starting on second base in extra innings will be staying. And honestly, as the season went on, I kind of started to like this rule. I thought it would give it some type of extra inning suspense, and it did. It was awesome. I loved watching other teams' extra innings, because there was a reason, like, to see if they could get them over. And honestly, there was many times that their teams didn't. I just love that rule, and I'm honestly happy they're bringing that one back too. The next rule for 2021 is that active rosters will limit and revert to 26 and then only expand to 28 in September. The MLB clubs are permitted to carry up to 5 additional taxi squad players on all road trips. My uncle showed me what taxi squad was. He was talking to me about it. I honestly didn't know what it was, but why didn't they have this from the jump in the MLB? They should have had this a long time ago because it should have always been around, and this is something that all sports need, honestly, in my opinion. Remember, the goal here is to limit the overly extended stays at the ballpark while also protecting players from additional wear and tear on their bodies. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, there will not, however, be a universal DH, and as a part of this agreement, that means the AL games have the DH, and all NL games won't, and interleague games, if they're at the NL ballpark, the pitchers will have to hit, but if they're at the AL ballpark, they will not have to hit. And in this expanded, and I'm sorry, not in this expanded, in this agreement, there is not an expanded playoffs. So like we said, the playoffs will now go back to what it was pre-2020, with the playoff field going back to 5 teams, 3 division winners, 2 wild cards, and then they only play 1 game to see who's moving on. And there you have it. Those are all the MLB protocols to keep all the players and all the staff safe in 2021. And those are all the rules that will be returning from 2020 and then pre-2020. I hope everybody enjoys this. I hope I covered everything. If everybody didn't know what was going on for the MLB regular season, hopefully we can get through 162 games. But before the season starts, later on this month, your boy Tino is going to do an MLB prediction show, and I'm going to let you know what I think the standings are going to be. I'm going to give you players to watch out. We're going to talk about faces in new places, and I'm going to get you ready for everything that's going to go down in the MLB regular season. But until then, this is your boy Tino, signing out.